Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back. Welcome back to another episode of Overrated and Overpowered Part 2 for Autobahn Icons, also known as German Powerhouse Part 2, the series where we take a deeper dive into some very specific cars to see if they're really worth the talk or not, you know, if they can walk the walk as well as talking the talk. Now, I'm very surprised to say this, but we are back with a part 2. Yes, that is right. The Volkswagen update is getting more love, and I'm putting more effort into it than the BMW update that we had before. The world that we live in, how interesting that may be. I gotta say though, I don't think there will be a part 3. I think these are the cars that I definitely want to look into. If there is like a specific car that you really want me to take a deeper dive into, let me know down in the comments below. If like there's enough there, I might make a part 3. Maybe. Anyway, let us begin with the Audi S6 Avant TDI. One of like 6 not ultra rares even, one of 6 cars from the update that I actually took the liberty of wishlisting. So how good is it actually? I am a sucker for estates, right? And I really like this car. Like if you told me that I would be driving this car as my daily in real life, I'll be like, yes, hell yes, let's do it. I'm sure it's really comfortable. It is a good looking car. It's brand new. You know, it would have been great. But, how good is it actually in top drives, right? So let's have a look at it. First of all, and as always guys, the niche is down here, okay? So if I forget talking about the niche or something, I did write it all the way down, so you kind of know what is the competition. So I like to always start with just the update, how the car performs within its own update. And for the Audi S6 Avant, you can use it on a hairpin road, and it's good for like city street medium and small within like the 4-wheel drive niche, right? So that's not a good start, because yes, it's the best for city street small and medium, but you need to remember that everything here is filtered by 4-wheel drive only. So there are a lot of medium ground clearance cars in this update. Some of them are not 4-wheel drive, and there will be many events where your drivetrain does not matter. It will just be Autobahn icons, and there'll be a medium ground clearance like track set, and that's it, right? So yes, the S6 would be good, but there will be better options if it isn't filtered by just 4-wheel drive, if you get my drift. I think the thing that it really specializes in is the wet hairpin and the wet city street small, because on top of the 4-wheel drive performance tire cars, which is this and the Touareg, I'm also putting it up against some of the standard tire cars like the Arteon and the Passat and the Phaeton as well, all of which the S6 Avant manages to beat. So there is some use for it within its own update. That being said, when it comes to Audi 4-wheel drive, it's still relatively useful here as well. Remember, this is just filtered by 4-wheel drive. There are very little, but there are some Audis out there that are rear-wheel drive, that are front-wheel drive, right? But then again, not a lot of those front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive Audis are even medium ground clearance. So at least there is a little bit of a niche here. Again, for the S6, it is the best for city street small, as well as the dry ones. It trades the medium with the Audi A1 Quattro, but when it comes to the twisty stuff, including the hairpin, other cars do it better. Now, moving on to 4-wheel drive, performance tire, medium ground clearance, ultra rares. This is where, you know, we go into the open waters. So we're not being restricted by, you know, something super niche like just a manufacturer or just an update. This is just, you know, everything that is ultra rare. I did put an emphasis on German cars, so there are a lot of German cars over here, like the BMW, the ID Quattro, the BMW 3 Series. There's also the Audi Avant RS2 and the S5. And as you can see over here, the Audi S6 Avant doesn't really win anything. I mean, Laguna Seca, whee, you know what I mean? But even its speciality, which I would say is city street small and hairpin road, it will lose to the BMW M235i. So that's one thing to consider as well. It actually isn't really the best in anything, unless it's Laguna Seca, right? Within this comparison, then, you know, it isn't that great. You know, as an RQ64, I kind of expect it to at least be the best in one track set. Again, Laguna Seca, yeah, sure, but, you know, when it comes to the vanilla, like the mainstream track sets, like your twisty circuit or your fast circuit, I don't know, man. I just expected something a little bit better from an RQ64, right? Like the Touareg is the thing that hits above its weight. It's the best in fast circuit, yet it's cheaper to use. So, you know, overall, Audi S6 Avant, what do I think of this? Well, I'm going to put it slightly under average. I could genuinely see this car as a 63. Like, I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think, like, it's, like, even a good 64. Like, in my opinion, this thing is like an RQ63 kind of car. And, like, there are situations where you can use it, but it's going to be very tight niches. So, like, you know, Audi only or Autobahn icons only, right? I mean, honestly, the variation of Autobahn icons is really, really bad. That being really good in Autobahn icons itself isn't much of a flex. to be honest. And we'll see that with a lot of cars in today's part. Now, moving on to the Volkswagen California 2.0 TDI 4Motion. This is a car that went under my radar. I didn't think that it would be that good, but it did hit above its weight, in my opinion. For a car that has 68 stock handling, and for something that is as heavy as it is, I would say that it kind of overperformed. So, over here, standard tire Autobahn icons. I thought this car was going to be absolutely garbage, but it's actually the best for car park, surprisingly. Seriously, car park. The van on car park. Twisty circuit rolling, and forest road. So 4 golds. That's really good. Also, shout out to the Volkswagen ID Buzz Cargo, which is also a good car. I mean, there's G-force, but there is an error in the time, so I don't know what the actual time of this thing actually is. But then we have the City Streets Medium, we have the Karting Circuit, the Twisty Road, which are some really good tracks that's to be the best on. You've got the Multivan, which is City Streets Small and Hairpin Road, which is pretty decent. You got the XL1, which we talked about in the previous episode already. We all know that that's good at slalom. What I want to put a highlight on is the California. Not good. I mean, not bad. Not bad at all. Now, moving on to German standard tires. As you can see, most of the cars in the German standard tire niche came from this update alone. This update brought a lot. You can call it a standard tire update, right? There are a lot of standard tire cars in this update. The California does pretty well. You know, car park, twisty circuit, forest road, fast circuit even. Fast frickin' circuit. Was fast circuit included here? Yeah, the Senator. So the Vauxhall Senator was better here. Okay, Vauxhall Senator. So I did not include the Vauxhall Senator in this comparison, but what I really wanted to highlight the California against was more or less the BMW 1 Series, which doesn't win anything, and then you've got the Mini 1 that wins slalom, and that's about it. But I gotta say, the California, especially within this German niche, standard tire niche for uncommons, yeah, it does pretty well. Now, uncommon standard tires, I would say that the California does fall back quite a lot. Car park, it loses out to Suzuki Kara. Some people might say that that's not fair because one is low, one is high ground clearance. I say go F yourself. This is fair. And then you've got Twisty Circuit. Yeah, that still wins. It loses out the Forest Road to the Ioniq. It loses out in Twisty Circuit to the Ioniq. I mean, what this tells me here is that the Ioniq is still like the Blossom Choice grade car, right? This is the best one. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 golds. It is still the premier uncommon standard tire car to use. The Kara is also another really, really good one. But one thing this does tell me, though, is that the Volkswagen California is no slouch. It does turn up second place in a couple of places. This is also really impressive because this is a general comparison. This is not, you know, restricted by any small niche. This is like open waters, anything goes. And the California does put up a fight. So I would say that this is a good car. I would genuinely say this is a good car. I'm genuinely surprised at how good this thing actually was. I think my expectations for this car was very, very low going into the comparison because it's a heavy boat, you know, it doesn't handle well. But you know what? Somehow it fights through. It is definitely an uncommon worth matching this update. Moving on is the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace 2.0. Another car which, you know, didn't really go under my radar. I thought it would be terrible because it's another car of terrible handling. That being said, the 0 to 60 for this, even for a super rare RQ49 all-surface tire car, is very, very low. And why this car got my attention was because if you were participating in the Autobahn Icon challenges, you know, the ones where you get all the carbon fibers and stuff, you know, all the different levels, like the 20 different chapters, you would realize that this Tiguan is applicable for so many different levels. And I was like, really? This Tiguan is the car that's stealing the show right now? How good is this thing? Because Top Drives Records always tells me, oh yeah, you can use the Tiguan, by the way. The Tiguan's gonna win. You know, when I get stuck in a challenge level, it's like it's always a Tiguan. That's the answer. So I'm like, okay, let's see how good this thing actually is. And I gotta say, it ain't too bad. So it's good for the hairpin. This is dirt. It's also really good for figure of 8. It also does very well on hairpin road. I mean, just generally speaking, hairpin road it does very well. And then, sorry, that was gravel, by the way, gravel. And then here you can see how it performs in the dirt. Again, hairpin road. Twisty circuit, you got the rally crosses unlocked, you got Monaco hairpin. Look at the cars that it's coming up against her, by the way. I mean, it's beating out the ultra rare, the RQ50 Volkswagen Tiguan. By the way, I have this RQ50 Tiguan fully upgraded. It is so bad. It's really, really bad. Like, it's, I mean, you can tell. It's trading blows with super rares, and the super rares are the ones with more gold medals. Like, that's actually crazy, right? But yeah, this 49 is stealing the show, for sure, right? I mean, yeah, there are not a lot of times on the Passat Ultra. But that being said, sorry, a little bit of a hiccup there. This thing does perform very, very well. Now, here's German all-surface tires, again, for dirt and a little bit of mud. The Tiguan does very well. And I would say, I'll tell you this much, right? The Tiguan, the one that we're looking at, this Allspace 2.0, performs the best on dry dirt, right? When it comes to, like, you know, mud, wet dirt, when it comes to sand, snow, ice, it doesn't do very well because the handling is terrible. But one thing that I have learned recently is that you don't really need a lot of handling when it comes to dirt. Like when it's mud, when it's ice, you know, when it's snow, yeah, handling is the most important thing. But when it comes to just straight dry dirt, handling isn't the most important thing. And it took me this Tiguan to really realize that, because, you know, it is winning a lot of races and it is the worst handling car here. I mean, one of the worst handling cars here. It handles less than this RQ50s. It handles less than the T-Roc even, and it is doing very, very well. Here's super rare all-surface tires and off-road. Again, the Tiguan, dude. Like I said, the specialty lies in the dirt. Hairpin road, twisty circuit, airplane slalom. It's the best car here. It's beating out off-road tire cars, four-wheel drive off-road tire cars, beating out rear-wheel drive all-surface tire cars. He's beating out, you know, things like the Encore, the Octavia, all these. I mean, not the Encore Octavia, but things like the Infiniti QX used to be an ultra rare as well, which is really quite impressive, honestly. So yeah, the Tiguan, I would say, definitely deserves its spot as an RQ49. I think it actually is a good car. Look, don't use it on like snow, ice, or like sand or anything like that. But if you will find yourself in a situation where you need to use a super rare all-surface tire car and the track says are dry dirt, or even just any kind of hairpin road, or you know, like a gravel situation, or even a rallycross, especially within Autobahn icons and German niches, this car is very good. It's actually very good. It is a car worth fully upgrading, so that's something that I would definitely look into as well. Now, moving on is the Audi RS7 C8. Now, this one, all right, let's talk about it first before I explain myself, right? So over here, as you can see, we did talk about this RQ79 RS6 in the past. In the previous episode, right? And as you can see, it wins on quarter and half and 1 mile and all that kind of crap. But like the Audi RS7 being 2 RQ cheaper also has a couple of golds up its sleeve, 0 to 100, 0 to 120 in hill climb. It has more MRA, a lot more MRA compared to the RS6. So I want to see how well this car actually performs. Well, within its own RQ, I gotta say it's not too bad. It does well in the hairpin and it does well in twisty circuit. And then when it comes to the dry within its own RQ, it does well in twisty circuits, both rolling and standing. It does well in fast circuit. It does well in the hairpin road. It has 4 separate golds, and it's comparing up against like the Gallardo, the Bentley, which are all ex-legendary, some other Audis as well. So not only is this RQ77 four-wheel drive performance that I'm comparing it up against, but there is an emphasis on German cars. Look at all the Audis and BMWs I'm putting it up against. So it does well not only within a general sense, it does well within its own RQ, and it does well within its own brand. So the Audi RS7, I would say, is a slightly above average car. Now let me explain myself, because I rank the RS6, the RQ79, very low. And some people, I mean, most people agreed with me saying that the RS6 was trash, but I had 1 or 2 comments saying that, you know, I was biased. And like, you know, what I said about the RS6 was wrong. The RS6 was actually pretty good. Why would I rate it so low? So I think that those people that said that might be more annoyed that I ranked the RS7 as an above average car, but I ranked the RS6, the RQ79 one, as, you know, an overrated car. But here's the difference between the RS, you know, the what we're talking about here, the RS7 and the RS6. So for the RS7, I'm putting it up against its own RQ, and it's actually winning races. It's actually being the best in some track sets. But when we talked about this RS6 Avant performance in the previous episode, I put it up against its own RQ, other 79s, other 78s, and it wasn't winning. It just wasn't. Like, hairpin road was the only thing, but everything else, it was always second fiddle. It was second fiddle to the Porsche Taycan. It was second fiddle to the BMW G81. So that's the difference, right? This car actually deserves to be in its RQ, but the RS6, I don't think that should be a 79. I think that should be a 78, and that's why that's overrated, and this one isn't. Anyway, moving on is the Volkswagen ID.4 Pro Performance. Now, as an Autobahn icon center tire car, this thing is in its own class. I mean, fair play. It's like the only RQ39. It should be the best one there. But how well does it perform outside its niche? Well, German standards, not too well. City streets medium, but that's a pretty good track set to be the quote-unquote best on, right? But it does lose to the super rares, okay? But it also loses to other rares as well, like the Audi AT2.2 and the BMW i3, right? So those are things to consider. General rare standard tires, it gets even worse for the ID4 because it will get destroyed by the Skoda Enyaq, and that's a huge thing because this and the Skoda Enyaq are literally the same thing. They're both SUVs and they're both standard tire cars. They're all electric and crap like that, and it's just like, you know, they're going to be competing in a lot of similar niches, and the Skoda Enyaqs are just always going to be better than the Volkswagen ID Pro. So that is an issue, right? It's also losing out to things like the Audi 8C. That's a big hit actually, because this is also a German car. So, you know, they share niches. It's going to lose to the Nissan Ring Road. It's going to lose to the MX-30. It's going to lose to the Subaru Leon. It's going to lose to the Chrysler 200 convertible. So, you know, even though it's an RQ39, the problem with this car is that it's only very strong in Autobahn icons, and like, you know, in a German standard tire only event, you could use it on city street medium, which is not too bad as well. But I would say that this car is slightly under average. You're gonna find use for it because, you know, it's just really good within its own update. There are many cars in this update that are very good within their own update, but the moment you remove the band-aid that says Autobahn icons, it just becomes trash, you know, and this is one of those examples. Anyway, moving on is the Volkswagen ID Vision. I absolutely hate the fact that they're spelling it with 2 Z's. Why does Volkswagen have to be so cringe, man? It's ridiculous. Anyway, the Volkswagen ID Vision, I gotta say, it might be the biggest winner after they killed the Hyundai Leffe Rouge, because the Hyundai Leffe Rouge has gone up to ultra rare. So this Volkswagen ID Vision is living in a world where it doesn't need to compare and compete with the Hyundai Leffe Rouge, right? So over here, as you can see, and also, you know, the Vision is medium ground clearance, the Leffe Rouge is low ground clearance. So over here, the Vision, as you can see, it wins car park and G-force. I'm comparing it up against other four-wheel drive cars from the update and also standard tire cars from the update, like the Volkswagen IDs. They're all IDs actually, and then the Passat GT, right? And if I were to remove the standard tire cars, this is, you know, the Volkswagen ID Vision is the best. Like, it will be the best. It will beat all the other four-wheel drive, you know, performance tire cars from Autobahn icon. So we're off to a good start, I would say. Here we go. German performance tires, medium ground clearance, four-wheel drive. Does pretty well as well. I'm actually putting it up against its weight, above its weight. It's going up against fully upgraded Ultra Rares, RQ51, 50s, a lot of Audis, some Volkswagens as well. The Vision is good on car park, G-force rolling, twisty circuit rolling. I would say that as long, you know, especially if you can beat a fully upgraded Ultra Rare being a rarity lower, that's very impressive already. So that's a great start. This is four-wheel drive performance tires, super rares in general. Again, like I said, it doesn't need to compare itself to the Hyundai Leffe Rouge. It doesn't need to compete with the Leffe Rouge anymore. So, you know, when it comes to the low ground clearance four-wheel drive super rares, I mean, what's your biggest threat? Like the Peugeot Fractal or something? But anyway, when it comes to city street medium, it's not the best here, but again, it's second best for small and medium. It's also second best for karting. It's second best for twisty circuit, and it remains the best for car park and G-force, which is very impressive for the Vision. It's beating out things like the Mitsubishi Tarmac Spider, what else is it beating? The Suzuki Concept S, which is a pretty good one as well. Four-wheel drive, 89 handling in that car, right? So I would say that honestly, oh, and one more. Yeah, there's even more. So this is wet, and this is dry. And in the dry, the Vision wins medium, car park, G-force, second place on small, second place on karting, second place on twisty circuit. Like it is very, very, very good, honestly speaking. So I would say that the ID Vision is a good car. You know, again, it's no Leffe Rouge, but it doesn't need to compare itself to the Leffe Rouge because the Leffe Rouge isn't even a super anymore. And some people might even argue that I shouldn't compare those two cars in the first place because one is low ground clearance and one is medium ground clearance. I mean, fair enough. Anyway, they're different rarities now, so it doesn't matter. The Volkswagen ID Vision, its time is now. It is a good car. I have yet to unpack it, and it's a little bit annoying because, you know, this is actually a pretty good super from the update, one that I would need to have, especially in the German niche. I can only imagine this car being pretty decent in German wet, super rare, you know, clubs, stuff like that. Now moving on, Volkswagen Concept R. These next two cars that we're going to be reviewing are very similar in the sense that they're very dominant within their own update, but when you open out the floodgates, they kind of falter. So Volkswagen Concept R, we knew about this already. It's like the only low ground clearance performance tire rear-wheel drive car that is an ultra rare in this update, and it shows because it's RQ52 and it's beating out RQ64s, 63s, 62, right? I mean, if this doesn't show you what medium ground clearance inflation is, then I don't know what will. You know what I mean? The Concept R is, I'm not going to say it's strong. The niche that it is is strong, which is, low ground clearance, performance tires. Actually, I wouldn't even say that its niche is strong. I would say that the other stuff above it, the other niches above it, the medium ground clearance niche, the four-wheel drive niche, that's all a bunch of bullshit. That's all overrated, right? So this perfectly encapsulates that. It's very strong when it comes to dry tracks within its own update. We all know this already, right? Low ground clearance, performance tire, ultra rears. See what I mean? So good in the update, doesn't matter. The guy goes out to the state championship and he just shits the bed. It's losing out to the Micra, it's losing out to the Megane, it's losing out to the Porsche 904, which isn't really much of a specialist. It's losing out to the Alfa Romeo. It's losing out to even the Honda NSX. I mean, the Concept R, not great. Not too great, honestly speaking. It does beat the TVR Griffith. Congratulations on many track sets, right? So that's not great. Doesn't really win anything over there, right? So overall, I would say that this is the perfect, encapsulation of an Autobahn icon and Volkswagen merchant, right? Because it's like the only car within its niche of its class. It obviously is going to be the best. But the moment that you actually put it out of its comfort zone, this thing is just going to, crash and burn. So yeah, I would still give this car above average because it really has a chokehold on, its niche, right? But you just got to know where to use it. It's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. It's either going to be very useful for you or it's just going to be useless, right? Moving on to the Volkswagen Polo. Here's another one car that's very, very strong within its own update. It beats all the epics, and it will even beat like the one-star legendary Vauxhall Astra, right? That's a legendary slick tire, real drive performance tire car, and it's capable of beating a one-star version of that, which is all very impressive, said and done, right? That being said, we already know that this car, just like the last one, is very good within its own update. Now I'm going to put it up against German epics. Some of them have slick tires, some of them have medium ground clearance. It's a little bit of both, because the Volkswagen Polo is both. It's medium ground clearance, but it is four-wheel drive, it is slick tires, so I'm comparing it up against, some four-wheel drive cars, some low ground clearance cars, some slick tire cars, some not, this, that, and the third. The most important thing is that the City Streets medium is where it excels in, because it's beating out other medium ground clearance German German performance cars like the BMW i4 and the Porsche Panamera and the Porsche Taycan 4S. So that's all very impressive. That being said, how well does it do in like the twisty scenario? I mean, it's like not terrible. It will lose to the M2 CS and the Porsche 911 RSR, but like it's not like, absolutely terrible. It's third place. Right, it's a very strange car, this Volkswagen Polo. It's like, where do you compare it? Do you put it up against the other medium ground clearance cars? Or will you put it up against the other slick tire specialist cars, because this thing still has like 100 plus MRA and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's all very interesting. Here you go, four-wheel drive slick performance tire specialists. Obviously is going to be winning the City Street small and medium because it's the only one with medium ground clearance. It is second place, and it is good on the slalom compared to, four-wheel drive slick tire cars. This is just four-wheel drive and slick, or sometimes performance. You got the Hyundai performance, the Taycan with performance, the Mitsubishi Mi-EV with performance. You've got the Alfa with slicks, the Peugeot with slicks. What matters here is that it is able to take wins somewhere. I think it's very impressive that the Polo actually beats the Mi-EV on slalom, for example, and it gives it a pretty close fight in the karting circuits, and obviously it's going to do well with city streets. And then I think it's kind of impressive that, the Polo beats the Alfa 155 on car park and G-force, so that's all good as well. And as well as slalom, right? So you gotta know where to use it. I would say that overall, this Volkswagen Polo, yes, it has a chokehold with the Volkswagen niche. Yes, it has a chokehold with the Autobahn icons, which, isn't graded too highly, but it's also a very good city streets car. It's great for car park, good for G-force, and it's also pretty decent on slalom as well. You just gotta know where and when to use it, but it is a pretty decent car, as long as it stays medium. If this thing goes low ground clearance, which I'm pretty sure it might, then this car will actually fall far down in usability, honestly, because its one trump card is the fact that this thing is medium ground clearance, right? All right, moving on. Volkswagen Golf ER1 Concept. Obviously, when I want to end off, the overrated or overpowered series, I like to end off with the best packable car in this update, and that for this update is the Volkswagen Golf ER1 Concept. 100 RQ, 100 handling when you max it out, four-wheel drive, off-road. We're off to a good start. right? And I gotta say, this car is really damn good. This is, you know, we're comparing it on mud, on ice, on sand, and four-wheel drive off-road tire cars. I'm putting it up against prize cars, and it's winning a lot of the races. It's beating the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak, which hurts, because that's one of my favorite options to use for an off-road tire car. It also beats like the Lancia Delta S4. A lot of prize cars it's going up against, and it's taking the names. It's also beating the Citroen C3 WRC, which has been such a pivotal car for many players that own it for the longest time. You know, this was one of the best off-road tire cars that you could have unpacked. But now that title goes to the Golf. The Golf is just, you know, just a little bit more better, as you can see in the sheet over here. Four-wheel drive off-road again. This is for snow. This is for dirt. As you can see, still ever dominant with the most golds. Now, this one, I'm kind of doing this for fun. I kind of want to see how it performs in the dry against, you know, a whole host of German legendaries, right? If you bear the 100 RQ, I want to see how versatile you can get. Fair. Yeah, it loses to the 918. Did I expect it to beat the 918? No, I didn't, but I wanted to see how close it would get, and it gets relatively close. It's beating out cars like the Audi Sport Quattro, which is very impressive. It even beats the Audi S1 on Car Park G-Force and G-Force Rolling, as well as no, not Slalom. It doesn't beat it on Slalom, but it beats it on these first three tracks, which is not too bad. But the Audi S1 being 5 RQ cheaper will then beat the Golf ER1 on hairpin, indoor karting circuit, and then almost everything else, right? I mean, you know, the Golf will beat out the Cadet, but you expect it to beat out the Cadet. I mean, the RQ difference between those two cars is like 12 RQ. It does... No, it doesn't. It doesn't really trade blows of the Astra V8 coupe car either. Look, again, just leave the Golf to the off-road track sits, right? The dirt and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to asphalt, the Golf ER1 isn't the greatest. I just wanted to see how competent it was. I mean, it beats out some stuff like the Sport Quattro. Like, you know, it will be able to lose by 50 in the dry, but really where you want to use the Golf ER1 is definitely in the off-road scenarios. And the fact that it's able to beat just about every off-road prize car that's been given out cements its place as a Blossom Choice Legendary. I think this is a very, very good car, and honestly, I think this car serves as really one of the only anchor points of pushing players to open packs in this update, because there's a lot of trash in this update. But this Volkswagen Golf ER1 and some of the other cars that we saw today, to be fair, you know, they're not included in that bubble, okay? But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. That is today's episode of Overrated or Overpowered. Let me know down in the comments below if you want to see a part 3 and what cars you might want to see. I know I never took a look at the Scirocco's. I mean, that's going to be on me, man. Like, we might just never talk about that Scirocco, the uncommon Scirocco. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and Blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville,
Atlanta.